Welcome back, YouTube. It's old Chevy 4x4 in Clyde. Rusty Gold Fanatic wants to see an update on the Hart Parr. All right, let's go take a look at the Hart Parr. Well, it is February the 25th, so it's about 3 months from the last update video I shared with y'all back in November. And at that point, had the camshaft out, had this rear cover off, had the push rods out, the tappets out, had all kinds of stuff going on. Had the water pump and governor housing off the tractor. Had not really got into it yet. So long story short, you already seen in that last video cleaning up, or the end result of cleaning up some of the lifters and the cam and the rollers for the lifters. Got all that back together. As you can see, you got the recover back on. The governor did pose a little bit of an issue. There's a spring that was sprung, if you will. The flyweights were all stuck. Everything was just really stuck and gummed up. Got all that taken care of. Cleaned back up, got a new spring in there. And one thing I couldn't find that I looked and looked, but I never did have any luck finding, so I'm going back with the old one, is there's a thrust bearing that you probably can't see down in there. And I ended up using the original one after doing an extensive amount of cleaning up on it. I've got the push rods back in place, push rod tubes held back in or bolted back in, got new gaskets cut for them. Rocker arms are adjusted, everything's ready to go that way. I fixed, not really fixed, but see if I can zoom in right there. On the end of that spark plug wire, put a new end on it because it was just a little piece of wire. Got my oiler lines all back installed. New gaskets cut for all this stuff. We'll walk around the back side here. Alright, coming around the back side here, zoom in under the steering box. You see the shiny new nut there and a little bushing sleeve. I did re-secure the steering box. That was, I don't even know if I showed that in the first video, but it was really loose and moving around, so I got it tightened back up the way it needs to be. Down on the exhaust manifold, we'll zoom in again. Look for the corrosion right there, straight ahead of you. I did braze in a fitting where the one had broken off. In the event we want to run this on kerosene, it's a preheater for the fuel. For all intents and purposes, the tractor's been run on straight gasoline for the last 40 or 50 years. I don't see any reason to change that now, but if we decide to go back to kerosene, or try it at some point in time, and you're right, the heater's ready to go. I removed the copper lines that ran the heater and just made a 180, and we'll just basically avoid that altogether. On the back side, that's pretty much it for back here. Alright, bring it back over to this side, and this will about wrap the video up. If you notice, I got the fuel line disconnected. I've got a valve and some plumbing fittings attached here because, let me step up a little higher. As of this afternoon, I just started working on the fuel tank a little bit. So I'm using electrolysis to remove the rust and scale buildup that's in there. And again, I just started about an hour and a half ago. So this is going to be kind of a lengthy process. I waited until now to do this because I was probably wrongfully concerned about temperature. I don't keep the shop heated when I'm not out here. And just in the back of my mind, I was thinking if it got real cold like it did back in December, I didn't want the solution to freeze. So I've got the tank not totally full, but it's filled to about right here, about 2/3 full. Because the rust in the tank was from the halfway point down. So got it about 2/3 of the way full of solution. I'm running 2 amps on my charger, and I'll go ahead and let the electrolysis do its thing. Well, I believe that about wraps it up. I've showed you what I've done and what we've got left to do at this point. I think up to this date I have burned through about 14 cans of brake cleaner, a can and a half of the big cans of PB Blaster, bought one of the whole bundle things in them blue shop towels, nearly a whole roll of emery cloth, and that was just the tedious part. The biggest part of it was getting things broke free and cleaned out and then cleaned up, getting grooves cleaned off of the camshaft and getting flat spots off of the rollers on the tappets and just all that little tedious stuff. So as we continue to move forward, like I said, I don't like a whole lot at this point to try to fire it up. So that said, guys, I appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Here, me and Clyde out here in the shop, and you know, as always, thank you very much for watching the videos, checking out the channel, leaving the comments, and all that good stuff. Stay safe and stop back. We'll catch you in the next one.